Assalamualaikum. Hi. Welcome to HSE, Health, Safety and Environment. My name is Dr. Lydia. I'm from Chemical Engineering Department. This is part B, so I hope you've watched part A. Right, the learning outcome for this part is looking at the health, safety and environment movements and the development of HSE organization. Right, let's have a look. Do you understand about Industrial Revolution? Do you know what it is? Right? You've studied it in school, I'm sure. Now, what are the key points of Industrial Revolution? Okay, we'll have a look. The Industrial Revolution happened between the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century. There's no exact date or where it actually began. The Americans said it began in America, and some Europeans claim that it happened in Europe. Well, it doesn't matter. Industrial Revolution has changed a lot of things in the world, right? So the important point that we want to show here is how Industrial Revolution has changed HSE movements in the beginning. Right. One of the most important things about Industrial Revolution is that the change of doing things with hands or man-made items towards machines, right? We used to use animals and people as laborers, but then when Industrial Revolution came about, things changed and we use more of automated mechanical equipments to do things, right? And this the change of industry, the agriculture industry to the mining industry, because mining industry gave the resources needed to run the factories and the manufacturing industries. Okay, let's have a look here. So handmade items, tools, people, and animal power changed to mass production by machineries, and the new methods came about in producing things. So before we had people producing things on their own with their own hands, so that takes time. So now machines are being used, so you have mass production. And the specialization of work, where workers become more productive and more skilled, so life improved. So Industrial Revolution actually improved life. At the same time, on this side, we also show that there's a scientific revolution. What that means is that when machines came about, there was also a scientific revolution, meaning there came about theories and laws. For example, the law of energy, the law of maybe movement, kinetics, and all that. So the fundamentals came about. So there was also the shift of a scientific revolution happening at the same time, right? So we can say that this is a modernization era. Okay, so this guy, his name is Ramazzini. So what did he find? Now, the most important thing about Ramazzini is that he found that people became, the diseases came about, and diseases that was related to workers and their occupation. So before this, diseases were probably because of environment or because of food intake, because of unhygienic conditions. But when the Industrial Revolution came and there were more workers working in industrial environment, what Ramazzini found was that the diseases was in relation to the work that was done. So he wrote a book on the discourse on the diseases of workers. For example, let's say a person who works in a coal mine, he suffers from lung disease. It's because of not wearing breathing apparatus, or the environment at the workplace caused him to have that disease. So this is what we call as occupational diseases. Right, that was what Ramazzini found. Okay, so let's have a look at what are the impacts of Industrial Revolution. of course, life improved, but pollution also increased during Industrial Revolution. And some conditions became harmful. New risks and diseases came about. This was what Ramazini was talking about. Women and child were taken as labor because they were cheaper. Back then, women and children were cheap labor as compared to men. So this forced women and children to become workers in industries. So there were concern on the public health as well as pollution towards the environment, because more and more industries came about, and mainly in manufacturing, right? And the capitalists or the owners of the industries employed women and young children. So there were a lot of concerns during this time. So have a look. This is a very old photo or from the Chicago Historical Society. Many states passed protective acts for women in consideration for their work conditions and employment and pay differentials. So women at that time was not paid the same as men. Their working conditions were really bad, and the work hours were more than others. So there were no fairness. So legislation came about. People wanted to have conditions that should improve, right? So these are photos back then, Industrial Revolution. So when this happened, women rose, not just women, men and women, they rose and they spoke up for the workers, and they wanted more compensation. They wanted better conditions for the working environment. This was the children working then, and you can see soot on their faces because at the time they were using coal as their energy, right? So children didn't go to school, they preferred to work, but the working conditions were really bad. So when this happens, this is when HSE movements came about, right? So because people wanted to fight for better conditions. So I've put here some questions for you to think about. Why was Industrial Revolution an important era? So find that out. I'm sure you've studied this in school. You would know. You can look it up, look through some references. What was the contribution of Industrial Revolution on technology today? It's very important. What were the consequences of Industrial Revolution? The positive and the negative impact. What influence did Industrial Revolution have on HSE with regards to the society and environment? So the Industrial Revolution changed a lot of things, especially towards people, towards the environment. It shifted a lot of things. So this is one of the things that you must look into, right? Very important. I'm going to touch a little bit on the development of HSE movement. Just a few points that's important. Back in England in the late 18th, 19th century, right? The public pressured for more act that would protect workers. So they came up with the Health and Morals of Apprentices Act in the UK. So this was the beginning of where the government were involved in workplace safety. Right. So the importance of safety at work. In the US, late 19th century, there were concerns towards health due to pollution of the Industrial Revolution. There were organizations who were concerned of the environment as well. For example, nature conservation, wildlife protection, pollution, right? Scientific organizations of people who were concerned with the natural history and biological aspects of conservation. They were concerned for the environment. They were concerned about what was happening because of the Industrial Revolution. So this pushed towards a more developed HSE movement. In the early 1900s, more than 3,200 people died in mining accidents in America because they mined a lot of coal, but the conditions were really, really bad. So in 1907, they created the Bureau of Mines that looked into mining accidents. They looked into the health hazards. So things improve. So usually when there's a condition where it's really bad, people will wake up and fight for a better better conditions. So this was what happened in the US. In 1908, an early form of workers' compensation was introduced in the US, which promoted safety and health, which looks into the costs associated with accidents and injuries. That means they gave compensation to the workers. And this is a very important point here. They recognize that safety and health ranks as the same importance with production and quality. It's a very important statement. This means that they also take care of workers just the same as taking care of their profit, right? Because without the workers, you can't get a good production. So by taking care of workers, you're also taking care of your business. So at this time, there was this awareness. So people were more protected. This is just a show of the flow of the development of HSE. You can look it up, right? Right. And my last question before part C, name several world industrial disasters in the 80s. Now, we look into the disasters to learn more about how HSE movements came about, right? So if you can look through what are the worst or the most known industrial disasters in the 80s, and what was its impact towards HSE development. So these are very important questions for you to have a look at. Okay, so just to recap our learning outcome for this part, health, safety, environment movements, and the development of HSE organization and how it came about. So Industrial Revolution gave a very great impact towards HSE development and organization. So don't forget, stay safe and try to look through again this topic. Look through the important points and the important questions that I've put across and try to discuss with your friends. If you have any questions, look me up on Open Learning, send me a message. Right, so this was brought to you by the UTP HSE MOOCs team. Until next time, bye.